Okay, so are you all keeping up with your 20 minutes meditation every day? Most days. Has to be every day. It's enthusiasm for you, isn't it?
What's that line about the flesh is willing but the will?
Flesh is willing but the heart isn't, is that it?
No,
Spirit
the
isn't?
spirit is willing, but the flesh is willing, that's it.
Oh, okay. I was talking to somebody who is a clinical psychologist, and her main thing is to teach people meditation. And she asks people, you know, are you doing your meditation every day? And she can pretty much gauge whether clients are going to get referred back to her in the future by whether they keep doing their meditation. If you keep doing the meditation, it will heal you. If you don't, then it's another concept, another story that you have, that you kind of like or you pay respect to, but doesn't change you. 20 minutes every day sitting on a seat, have a place, just sit and be with yourself. There's no dogma here, there's no religious rites. You can ring the bell or something if you like, but this is you being with yourself, investigating yourself. 20 minutes a day. You can do it. Any questions? You all good? The actual sutta, it says, this world, how far does this term reach? And the answer is, that which is transitory is called the world. The eye and the forms and eye consciousness, the ear, sounds, ear consciousness, mind, thoughts, mind consciousness, the six senses, plus the feelings of liking and disliking based on the eye consciousness, the ear consciousness, the sound, the taste consciousness. So these are the world. By what is the world led? By what is it that the world plagues itself? What holds everything beneath its sway? And the answer was, by thoughts the world is led. By thoughts the world plagues itself. By thoughts all is held under sway. So, you all good? We can go home. If you have no question or comment.
What's the origin of our thoughts?
What's the origin of our thoughts? Karma. And karma means habit. So you think thoughts because you've thought of them before. That's why it's difficult to come up with new thoughts. Yeah. That's the basis of the court cases between Apple and Samsung. Apple think that they thought of everything, and Samsung says actually we didn't. So Apple patented a rectangular phone with evenly rounded corners. So thoughts come because we've thought them before. And it might not be the specific thought, but it can be the feeling. So if the feeling ties into an emotion, it's because you felt that before. Yeah. I've never had a boat, so I look out on the harbour and I don't really think very much about the boats. I don't know what the differences are. I know a catamaran, I know a sail, but I don't know costs of them. I don't know what they're for, how they run. So I'm unlikely to think about boats when I'm sitting here. Right? But I have thought about hovercraft. So every so often those thoughts will come back up into my head. It's karma, and karma just means habit. If you have put an emotional feeling into certain thoughts before, they're more likely to come back. Letting go of something is when the thoughts come up, when you don't feed them with more emotion. And then you start to associate those thoughts with non-emotion state, and then they don't bother you anymore. Yeah. Go ahead.
Does this mean that the Western psychological practice in therapy of people dredging up their past is actually counterproductive?
Did you all hear that? Okay. Just for the benefit of the recorder, is our Western psychological practices counterproductive because they're just increasing this sense of self and thing?
And they're bringing back those thoughts that create
Right.
that maybe were painful for us.
Right, recreating those things. Yes and no. The original Freudian idea of calling things up and going back over the past is very old-fashioned these days. And in fact, the new-fashioned psychology is all about mindfulness. Anybody who's in the psychology industry knows mindfulness is the big watchword right now. Of course, the Buddhists are all like, yeah, we told you, but in 5 years' time, psychology will have a new trend and phase, so don't get too excited. But that idea of just pulling things up from the past is pretty much old psychology these days. So this idea that Freud had that you have to act out or give vent to certain feelings, that's definitely been dropped now. On the other hand, Freud was, if you go back to his original texts, he said that the suffering comes from the things in your unconscious, things that you've forgotten about. Now in Buddhism, we don't care about the unconscious, we only care about conscious. But he said you suffer over the things that you've forgotten about. If you can bring them up into the conscious mind, but you're in a safe place, then you get catharsis, which means they cease to cause you turmoil anymore. And I kind of believe that. What you're doing is you're recreating that thought and emotion, but you're bringing it into a place where you're in a safe space with your psychologist in a nice room and it's quiet. And if you can call it into your mind and be okay with it, in that situation, then you can start to heal from it. There are many different schools of psychology. Cognitive behavioral therapy was the last big one. And they really change your thinking about things. So you really have to watch what you think about your feelings and thoughts. Psychology is a real mess. I mean, there's a lot of great theories, but not very much help. Current psychology is quite good. It's kind of based on research rather than based on theories. So I kind of like modern psychology. Anyone else? You're all very much in that, at the top of your 100-foot pole. Yeah.
Can you, well, you didn't really touch this topic before, but I just want to see your view on the right effort. Of
Right
the,
effort.
Yeah, of the noble path,
Yeah.
and how we can practice that together with mindfulness.
Right effort is one of the key teachings in Buddhism. I have a couple of talks about it. How long have we got? But it was very simple. It's a really simple formula. It's like E equals mc squared. I mean, that you wouldn't believe you can build nuclear bombs from that and run nuclear power stations from E equals mc squared. But, the greatest formulas are simple formulas. And right effort is a really simple formula that should be blindingly obvious and should be taught to everybody at school, but isn't. And it's this, 4 lines. Unwholesome states of mind that have arisen, you strive to abandon them. Unwholesome states that have not arisen, you strive to prevent them. Wholesome states that have not arisen, you strive to cultivate them. And wholesome states that have arisen, you strive to maintain them. And that's right, Everett. And it should be piercingly obvious that that's true, but we never taught that at school. Right? We taught things like compete with everybody, follow your dream and outsell people and be bigger and have a nicer car. And I don't know, I think we're all taught in the wrong way. What you do with your mind becomes a habit, as I started out saying. So if you're practicing wholesome states of mind, notice that here we don't tell you what the wholesome state is. You have to gauge for yourself. I think people know. We don't have to write a list for you, right? You know what a wholesome state of mind is. But catch yourself, when you're talking to someone, are you actually acting out of greed, out of hatred, out of jealousy, out of envy? I heard this thing about a blind man, and he said that he could, when people would say they're sorry that he's blind, he would hear as like a hint of smugness, almost, that people are like, it's not that I'm sorry you're blind, it's like I'm glad I'm not blind. That he could hear that in their voices. And it's quite interesting, some of the things that he could pick up from people in this way. So often your motivations are pretty, weak and poor. You're driven by jealousy and envy and all kinds of things. If you can catch these and feel them, they're not that big, they're not that frightening. When you know the name of the demon, you have power over the demon. Rumpelstiltskin, right? Anybody else? Or do we wrap up? Going once? And going twice? Okay, well, it's been fun being here. I do hope that you all keep up practice. At least 20 minutes every day to be with yourself. Next year when I come back, we'll do a meditation course. You do both. And we'll give you a sheet, and then you have to tick every day that you've done your 30 minutes of meditation every day. And then the course is for free, but if you don't tick your meditation box every day, you have to pay a fine. And okay, it's been nice talking to you over these last 5 weeks, and thank you to the Buddhist Library for having me here and welcoming me and giving the opportunity for us all to come together. So it's very much appreciated. And I hope you will continue to come and use this great resource and the good books and the talks and the different events that you have coming up here. Okay.